Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with the former world champion Terran in the red. It's Micro Jackson, ByuN, facing off against the Zerg with the StarCraft 1 drones in the blue, Rumeith, in a best-of-3 Terran versus Zerg showdown as part of the Korean StarCraft Evo Complete Championship, the mod that brings StarCraft 1 and StarCraft 2 together. So if you like either of those games, it'd be incredible if you could smash that like button, maybe even subscribe. Help me convince the algorithm that both StarCrafts are worth watching. And Jimmy, what are we at? 1,708 likes on this video, on this cast, and I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways, because I don't know what else I'd do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully, you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. As ByuN scouts across, and we'll see that Remeith is going through the organic, free trade, natural method of growing larvae, which is hatcheries, of course. Queens, far above the mundanity of trundling around and slapping some injects in. Instead, the old-fashioned way of just simply building more and more hatcheries is the methodology here. And I think Rumeith actually trying to block out the Reaper, as ByuN going to be using that early on. Without those queens to help, and that drone just ran right on by, but the drone's uniquely vulnerable. And in fact, the first Reaper gets up close and personal, blocks the drone from being able to spread itself into a creep colony, and already it's a disaster, as the man who's gotten the Reapers nerfed twice is trying to do so yet again, and proving the point that having any sort of early units is kind of important against Terran. Rumeith getting massacred on the field here. Multiple creep colonies to try to dodge. Gets to the high ground. The hatchery will limit his options, but certainly not stop them outright. And that Reaper, an absolute menace. There's no Zergling speed on the way. There are no queens in production. And, well, on creep, I think the Zerglings are just barely fast enough. But the grenade, 1 HP and 0 intention of leaving the Zerg alone. ByuN runs the table. Remeith suffering 3 drone losses to a single Reaper, thus demonstrating the value of those more terrestrially bound queens. But a Hydralisk dead is on the way. Early game tech here, 75-25. The Hydra, significantly weaker than its StarCraft 2 counterpart, but it graces the field much earlier on. First Overlord's taken out as well. We're on Remith, which is a 4-player map technically, but in the closest possible positions here, especially with ByuN able to maybe move the medevacs in more quickly. And that seems exactly where he intends on going. There's no Zergling speed. The Reaper's still going. Gets 2 more drones. Oh, fear the Reaper, man. Finally, Reaper goes down. I believe that's muscular augments. Hydra speed on the way. 10 more drones for Rumeith, who, despite his losses, has plummeted to a 9-drone lead, having 5 hatcheries early on. Not too slowly, but very surely, giving him enough larvae. He's got a sunken colony. Appropriate. Yeah. Well, forbidden. Nope. Nope. Wonder what's in there. I think we're going to see eventually. Is a lair done? No. Mostly because it hasn't even started. Rumeith with an entire reliance on his sunkens, as well as just Zerglings and Hydralisks, in order to deal with ByuN's. ByuN just breaking out the classic ByuN build. 1, a single Reaper. 2, medevacs. 3, a bunch of dudes with drugs, guns, and a severe anger at the Zerg for existing. So, Hydra's on the way. I'm not sure how the Hydras stack up against the StarCraft 2 Marines. They don't have combat shield, they don't have +1. But once the medevacs, or medics, learn to fly, things got a lot easier for them. The Hydras, though, gonna target. Knocks 1 of the medevacs out of the sky, and that will blunt the effects of this push quite dramatically. He's also got Hydra range on the way. Another sunken... Oh, the Chzzzk! ByuN, no witnesses. Wow, Chzzzk looks too close to a Zerg. In fact, I believe in StarCraft 2, there's a mission where the Chzzzk becomes Zerg or something like that. I forget exactly what was going on in Heart of the Swarm. That's all kind of like a fever dream to me, but... Wow. Well, ByuN spinning up into a very standard level of production. And important to note, mischance is part of SC Evo. The high ground matters a lot more than usual. A 50% chance to miss. So do not underestimate the power of any unit with the high ground advantage. It's in SC2, it's only vision. Units on the high ground cannot be easily seen from units on the low, but of course having scans or air. A bunch of Hydras slithering around, unlike those words out of my mouth. I regret all of them in the last couple sentences, but the siege tanks at the front, the Hydras flanking from the back, gonna intercept some of the Marines. Combat shield is now completed. But the Hydras, well, they have the high ground. ByuN not looking to challenge it. The siege tanks working their way through the sunken colonies. The hatchery itself under fire. One at the front. I think that was mostly just to zone things out, not that it did very well, but here comes the collapse. The Hydras on top of the siege tanks, and a lot of them gun down as the Marines chase them across the field. Important to note, the Hydras are not light nor armored, just biological. That does mean siege tanks don't get bonus damage against them, which is still true in SC2, but still. What do we have here? Is that an extractor? All the custom the lair? Wait. The lair is just now starting 7 minutes in, but the Ultralisk count is quite high. A single siege tank. Sunkens really just getting that noodly appendage into the faces of those Marines, and not in a fun way. The Spore Colony will knock the medevac out of the sky. A very strong counter. But the Marines gunning down many of the drones. Hydras cutting off the reinforcements. The supply still heavily in ByuN's favor, but one supply Hydras will do that. Rumeith still with a slight worker lead as ByuN is leaning entirely on this 2-base pressure. More reinforcements cut off. Those Hydras lurking around, unfortunately not actually able to do so. Trying to get to the high ground, but the Hydra's doing better than they should with that high ground advantage. And again, the Hydra's able to take out the tanks. Rumeith will hold for now. A lurker. Looks like he had time to finish. Oh, no. Sorry. I forgot back in the day, back in my day. Well, not my day. I assume your day, Grandpa. How's the back pain? Meanwhile, though, the Hydra's on the front line. A bit optimistic about their ability to take out the Marines and tanks here. But he's researching lurker aspect, allowing the Hydras to potentially morph into those devastating lurkers, which are much stronger against units like Marines and weaker in the later game. They don't have as much range or HP, but they're obviously way more accessible, and they have a bonus to light instead of armor. Well, Rumeith has managed to withstand a level of Terran pressure that many Zergs in StarCraft 2 have collapsed under in the past. The mass Ultralisk. 46 Ultralisks on the field. That's it. Hydras and drones. And I assume we're going to see lurkers. But the triple drop over to the right flank. Hydras are anti-air units. The scan. Did Rumeith spot? I believe he did. Morphing some lurkers on the high ground. The cocoons have a ton of armor. But the Hydra's just slightly out of scan range. Will intercept some of these units. Meanwhile, back at home, though, the Marines stimming in. A few Hydras in the way. The Sunkens cutting into the Marines, but not quickly enough. They'll gun down a couple. And Hydra's retreating back, but so many of the drones will be slaughtered in the process. A dozen drones, 15 picks up and gets to the main. ByuN gonna be dropping the base like it's a Skrillex album here, and there's nothing back at home to defend. He has to scramble back with the Hydras. The drones being slaughtered by the dozen. And the map, well, opening up dramatically for ByuN. Even though the Hydras are able to knock a couple medevacs out of the sky, the damage is already done. The economy is shattered. But the lurkers? Does he have them on hold fire? We can't see it here. Though we'll know. I'm sure ByuN anticipating something like this. But if he goes just a little bit too far, those lurkers could eviscerate his entire supply. A queen's nest is on the way. The ability to unlock that hive, and, well, Queens as they were meant to be. We'll see. As Rumeith has held on so far. Brood War Zerg, much better known for a low supply count compared to their StarCraft 2 counterparts, which are kind of the opposite. The units, very cheap on supply, but very effective for it. Especially if we get to some of those later game spellcasters. We will see more lurkers on the way. ByuN still on Marines, tanks, and medevacs. The M&M has carried him thus far. He's going to carry some Marines further. The lurkers will burrow. Though we may give away this whole setup. Scampering by. They have such a visceral look to them. Brood Wars are much more angular. Whereas, you know, like most of us, by the time StarCraft 2 rolled around, a bit more rounded. But what have we here? Ensnare on the Queen's Nest. And 4 queens in production. The lurkers are scanned and the queens. I've arrived! Susan! Susan! Where are you? Hello? I can't see anyone down there. Brenda, shh! He's attacking the 4th! Put up. So, well, the lurkers can be gunned down by the Marines, but before another slice can come through, 17 Hydralisks are in production. More lurkers on the way. Remeith trying to hold on to these bases, but ByuN with nearly 200 supply. Though it's all in Marines, tanks, and medevacs, taking a very Brood War-esque aspect to his unit composition. Where are the queen? Hello? Lucille? Oh, you look beautiful today. Oh, is that a fancy cape you have? Oh, no, that's just your carapace? Oh, I do declare. Sorry. I'll get distracted. The lurker standing by. The hatchery eventually taken down with the help of the siege tanks firing over the top. ByuN unable to get much closer. Medevac strays into all of the Hydralisks, but a couple more medevacs darting into the 3rd base. As Remeith really struggling. Ensnare. Holds on to most of it. A single Marine. Well, a few more picked up. But the Queen's able to hold down the vast majority of these units. There's also the Infested Command Center ability. Throws a parasite onto the medevac. Well, hello, can you hear me? Hello? No, put me back. He noticed, Susan. Of course he noticed. You have to be subtle. The art of seduction, Brenda. Why are you so weird? Since when did the medics know how to fly? Sorry. The Queen still hanging out. Finally, some ghosts on the way. Now, ghosts. Oh, the Marines on the high ground, though, turning the tables on the Hydras, gunning down about a dozen without a single Marine dying. The parasited medevac being sent out to scout. I believe you can just kill it. I'm not actually sure. Oh, the parasite doesn't show up for ByuN unless he manually clicks on it. So it shows up for observers, and I believe you can see the debuff on the unit. But will he parasite? I've heard you can parasite critters as well, which might be a reason for ByuN to actually kill the Ursidons, because they may actually be working for the Zerg. Meanwhile, the parasited medevac is sent back to, well, where it wanted to be in the first place. And the hatchery is spotted out. ByuN gonna be able to take out yet another one. No cancel. Splits and stims to try to take out the lurkers. Ensnare. Enough to hold the medevacs down, and the Hydra's more than enough to knock them out of the sky. Oh, wow. What is that upgrade? Jimmy, can we get some tooltips? And Overlord sight range. Antenna. They stick their little feelers out and see even more. Well, I mean... that'd be a nice upgrade to have. Meanwhile... Rumeith, relying on those queens. He has the ensnare, throws one out. There's also the broodling infestability, which I don't believe he's researched. I don't think turning siege tanks into broodlings is necessarily the most profitable endeavor when ensnare is clearly working out. No Defiler's nest? Den? Abode? Quite yet. Trying to think of what other tech we're missing. But the Overlord's hanging out as they do. ByuN has retreated into his more turtly shell. The ghosts being added in to deal with, well, the queens, which are an existential threat. EMP! How rude! Another ensnare, though, catches a few of the units. Another queued up. The mass Ultralisk. No lurkers with this composition, just relying on the sheer Hydra biomass here to deal with it. But with the medevacs and the snipes at the back, the high ground certainly helps, but it doesn't appear the Hydras are going to be enough to... Okay, now what is that globule looking? Ventral sacs. To make your sacs extra engorged with which to insert the Zerg of your choice. So check out more of my Dronely fans. Like and subscribe. And all the Hydras take out some of the very unfortunate Marines that are caught on the wrong side of history. More Queens on the way. And oh my, the ensnare coating the Marines, holding him in place. Another one comes in. Trying to hold it down in the mass Hydra, 74 Hydras. Though that number is dwindling rapidly when faced with the siege tanks and the ghosts. ByuN forced to fall back even further. More Queens, more Hydras in production. But ByuN holds. Without any lurkers here, and this is not a planetary fortress, if he goes in, he's not getting out. ByuN will be able to gun down these Hydras. He's not going to get the command center. I don't think he has the Hydra count. Yeah, that's absolutely not going to happen. Those Hydras do not do enough damage. The Queen trying to escape. I claim diplomatic immunity. I don't think you can do that. We don't have diplomatic relations with the Terrans. And why is that? Maybe we should hire one of them so we can talk with them better. Has anybody thought of that? More on that soon. Maybe one of those ghosts. They seem to be on our wavelength. Brenda, shh. Oh, don't shush me! Sorry, I'm... Defilers on the way. 5 Defilers with the Consume upgrade. In order to slurp up the Zerglings and spit out some Dark Swarm. Rumeith finding a lot of progress so far, but still down 30 supply, though. Definitely miss all the snipes! Knock the Queens out of the sky. Lurker drop on the way. It does feel like Plague in production as well. It does feel like ByuN has solidified his position. He just has too much bio. Rumeith has held on this far. But Snipe goes right through the Dark Swarm. And oh, right into the Defilers, killing them in a single shot. Oh, it's a disaster. The most valuable units. No need to scan to kill the creep, just go straight for the Sunkens. Oh, those lurkers funny a lot of damage, but Hydra's trying to chase down the medevacs. ByuN is maxed out though, starting to bank money. Lurker drop coming in to deal with some of the SCVs. The fact that they're ghosts, but where are you going, drones? The drones on a pilgrimage, unfortunately. The Terrans won't have. Oh, this is. Not ideal. 23 drones dead. It started with a Reaper. It didn't end with it. 94 drones dead. 200 Hydralisk. And I fear everything else soon to follow. The Queens have been knocked out of the sky. The Defilers, not enough to turn the tide. The Ghosts, more than capable of knocking out all the... Oh, y'all play Guga! Except the medevacs kind of just heal the plague, bringing them one step away from death. The medevacs bringing them a lot further. Rumeith has been knocked down and knocked out. The Hydras will clear up some of this. A single ghost survives. No overlords nearby, despite the fact they're detectors. A Defiler and a Queen, and a single Dream. Okay. Alright. Rumeith. Okay. Well, if your mother's not singing, I guess it's not over yet, but... Get rid of the Ursidons, they could be parasited! Oh, wow, the pre-scans to potentially deal with lurkers. At this point, the best chance, probably some sort of hold position, hold fire lurkers. But that chance is dwindling by the second. The Queens, the Defilers, the lurkers as well. ByuN just tearing through absolutely all of them. Dark Swarm a little bit late. And of course, it doesn't block the snipes. Rumeith really throwing it out there. But ByuN leans on those classic Terran units and is able to power his way through. Still, quite a demonstration. Unfortunately, Rumeith probably underestimating ByuN's... Oh, wow. So in this tournament, one, they switch between who's playing StarCraft 1 and StarCraft 2. And two, apparently the loser was able to pick the map. And you can pick the same map. And you probably know where this is going. Rumeith wants another go. And this time with the StarCraft 2 drones against ByuN's StarCraft 1 SCVs. Huh. He picks Vermeer yet again. I mean, as a Zerg player, with this many bases to work with, ByuN was more than capable of cutting down the potential options. Well, why do I have a feeling ByuN's gonna do the same strategy in StarCraft 1? He's gonna go, it might not be, there's no Reaper, but it's gonna be Marines with Stim and Medics into siege tanks. And then instead of Ghosts, it's gonna be sides. I have not seen ByuN, well, I've seen in other tournaments, ByuN play StarCraft even. It's ByuN though, so he knows what he wants. And at the end of the day, it's the StarCraft 2 engine. You can select more than 12 units at a time. The workers can figure out where to mine on their own without being individually issued orders. Okay? Units don't trip up just because there's a slight divot in the map. You don't have to hotkey an overlord in with your mutas in order to get them to be mildly capable of doing anything important. Like, Speaking of which, we didn't even see a hint of mutas last game, but honestly, against Marines, I think that wasn't going to work out. So, you don't have to get carpal tunnel just thinking about microing more than 12 Zerglings. At the end of the day, mostly StarCraft 2-centric sort of strategies. SC Evo does obviously change the stats of especially the StarCraft 1 units, because otherwise they get run over by the StarCraft 2 ones. But I think they've done a pretty incredible job of keeping them feeling, in my uneducated opinion, like their StarCraft 1 counterparts while still being competitive in StarCraft 2. There are obviously some rough edges. But, you know, that's what makes things interesting. Couple Zerglings coming in. ByuN is going 3 Rex Marine with Stim. He's actually getting 2 comsats before Stim, which is an interesting choice. The Academy opening up the opportunity. So the Terrans, after the Brood War, figured out how to lower their supply depots and slap their comsats on top of the command center, which, you know, massive economic development. Comsats with no other purpose besides doing this early scouting. So, 3 Firebats on the way. Firebats, well, you want to hear about propane and propane accessories? The medics alongside. Going to the ByuN cam mostly to hear the... You can also find me playing a whole lot of SC Evo on the streaming channel, the second channel, Winter Gaming TV. Even played a few on the streams here, but if you're interested, just hearing the sounds. And again, I'm not even nostalgic. I didn't play Brood War till well after SC2, but Brenda, why are these legs? What has happened to us? We got old, Susan. We all got old. Why did the Terrans get to do the same strategies? Shut up, Susan! Shut up! And the Firebats burninating across the countryside. They hit the stems, the Queens getting incinerated. Oh no, the Firebats so capable, but a few Banelings helping to cut into things. Still, though, 3 Queens gunned down. The Firebats were thinned out. But if he just targets that Baneling, and again, look at the unstoppable. Oh no, another Queen. The hatchery almost dead already. Another Baneling. The medics finally being ripped apart. The last Queen presiding over their deaths. Rumeith without suffer. Well, it's not good. He's at 38 drones. And those are StarCraft 2 drones and StarCraft 2 Zerglings. Much less capable than their StarCraft 1 counterparts. Though you can obviously get many more of them with the Larva Inject. Siege mode on the way. +1 infantry weapons and marine range. The Marines much more vulnerable to Banelings as they never get their combat shield, but they make up for it somewhat with a higher DPS and more range, so I'll see. Lair in production. And ByuN with siege tanks, marines, and medics. Because of course. It's worked for 27 years. And if Terrans have their way, it'll work for 27 more. Without Baneling speed, having the creep, of course, is important. But without Bane speed, going to be almost impossible to actually track down this army. Not nearly as impossible when they can just load up into medevacs and boost away, but still a very difficult situation for Rumeith already, as ByuN just nailing that timing. What is that? Is that +1 armor? Jimmy! How? Every time! I believe that's +1 infantry armor on that. Yep. I'd like to buy additional pixels. Back in my day, we had 256 colors, and we liked it. All right, Grandpa. Now, make sure to put your screensaver on so you don't ruin your CRT monitor. Small Marine counter. Gonna try to just target down the hatchery, and he's gonna get it. Of course, the Marines and medics will be ripped asunder. And in effectively the same close positions here as we saw in the previous game. Another group of Marines and medics going to be surrounded by a flood of Zerglings. And will be taking down targets, the Banelings in the process, but everything dies in the end. Like and subscribe for Existential Dread. I know that one. Irradiate. In production. Science vessels as well. The siege tank slamming into the Zerglings. Infestor on the way. The Comsat scouting. See the hive in production. A Rumeith has managed to carve out a decent supply lead. There's a whole lot of lings. And the creep spread's about halfway across the map now. So making it that much harder. Since there are no medevacs to circumvent the frontal attack, the creep spread being this far out means a lot more opportunity for the Lings and Banes to potentially collapse on the Marines, medics, and tanks. 2 more factories on the way. As shifting into that more mech-oriented composition. Ooh, crazy infestor skin. So bulbous, like I said about it. But the Zergling counter! ByuN! There's no wall, and the Zerglings just get right in. A huge counterattack at a very important timing. Will bring ByuN's army back. There's some Banelings morphing in the main. The damage done here isn't even that important compared to the fact that he just bought himself time for the hive to complete. Brenda, are you okay? No, I haven't been okay since the war. And an Ultralisk cavern is on the way alongside the Spire. +2 upgrades. ByuN only with +2 infantry weapons on the way. The science facility finished a while ago, but only a single engineering bay for those Marine upgrades. And he's just now getting his armory for the mech upgrades. Of course, Irradiate is quite a powerful tool against jesters at all Zerg. More racks. Gonna be 7 racks, 3 factories, a starport. But ByuN is bottled up in a corner. So far from what I've seen of StarCraft Evo, the best counter is to Irradiate is throwing a massive biomass at them. AKA your mother, the Ultralisk. There's simply so much HP on the Ultra that Irradiate does not melt through it quickly enough. And since you don't have snipe, you have no way of bringing it down reliably before it can close the distance. And if they get close enough to the Marines while irradiated, well, the Marines don't like it either. So, Banelings chewing into some of the Marines. Big Zergling counter. Adrenal glands now on the way. A few of the tanks getting taken out. More blasting into the Zerglings. A single infestor throws out a fungal. Gets some more damage done. And those Marines only have 45 HP, which means without heals, 2 fungals will do it. A second Spire on the way, +1. Now, all this is going to be scanned. He sees the Ultralisk cavern. Another scan. Those Ultras, though. And the Irradiate's coating the field. The Ultras starting to melt, but going to try to get as much. Yeah, they're closing. Now, this is the issue. The spicy Ultras are now they don't even necessarily need to attack, though obviously they'd like to. As when they get close, they just start melting through the Marines, eventually taken down. But a whole lot of damage was done. ByuN down to 123 supply against 140. Still bottled up on 3 bases, whereas Rumeith has most of his side of the map, though there are plenty of bases to take yet. The few surviving Marines find the base in the top left corner and decide that's the best they're gonna do. Adrenal glands now done. Creep spread, half the map. Nope, Jimmy! A lot of struggles in production today. The Queens were on sabbatical, but it looks like they've made it back. Some missile turrets. Just got a new model as well, just a few weeks ago before this. With the... There's just a dude spinning around in there, which... Not sure if that's a great or terrible job, but I think after a few dozen spins, you probably don't care anymore either way. Marines sneaking by the Queens. Politely yet firmly. Pushing them with the knitting needles to take them down. One will actually... The Marines still do so much damage. Mass science vessel. 8 aggressive scientific vessels irradiating the corruptors. The Queens underneath as well. The Ultras from the north side, D-Matrix on one of the tanks. Irradiate. The Marines trying to help out. Siege tanks doing a lot of damage to those Ultras. Irradiates help you out as well, but the defensive Matrix seems to be a better option overall. Just cleaving through those Marines. A Nidus Swarm in the main base is... Oh my. The Ultra finally obliterated by the siege tanks. Meanwhile, Marines in the main. 4 more Ultras on the way. Now this is awkward. ByuN is claiming that this is his property. The Zerg have claimed it for themselves. We'll have to see who ends up winning this domestic dispute. The Nidus in the main base was taken down. The Overlords irradiated out of existence. Melted away off the map. Comsat looking for any reinforcements. A Nidus to the north side. Just throwing out more scans, trying to keep tabs on everywhere the Zerg is expanding. A nearly impossible task at this stage. Rumeith is nearly maxed out. ByuN not too far off at 180. Working fondly on +3 infantry armor. About to finish up +2 vehicle weapons. And getting a couple dropships on the way as well. Marines just stimming their way forward. And the Ultras just cleaving right through them. Triple irradiate. Actually melting through each other. I do believe it stacks. Which... Oh no, get away! Nidus at the back of the natural. Transfusing through the irradiate. Drones melting as they go by. Science vessel count at 9. 19 siege tanks behind. Single Ultra. Ooh. Just chewing through everything. He irradiated a drone that became a creep colony, and I have no idea, because you can't irradiate buildings. I have no idea how that... I assume it doesn't do damage, but then if the drone pops back out, double irradiate. The Ultra's taking damage from all sides and within. But Rumeith has every, like... The income is obscene right now. 2,100 more resources per minute. He can throw away armies and rebuild them yet again, truly embracing that StarCraft 2 Zerg style. And he needs to do so. As, are you telling me he hasn't killed a single building? Not destroyed a single depot or missile turret, let alone command center? I find that implausible, but apparently it is correct. ByuN has slowly but surely worked his way forward, but he's running out of minerals. Well, he's out of minerals in his main and his natural. There's a Nidus into the main base. ByuN without enough reinforcements. Ultras popping out in the midst of the production. The science vessels are scrambling back to defend, and that leaves the SCVs completely vulnerable to the Ultras and the Lings on the field. ByuN has come undone. The science vessels completely out of position. And the siege tanks are doing a massive number on the Ultras, but they themselves being cut down in turn. The command center forced to take a seat lest it go down to the mass corruptor. 6 Ultras on the way. 8 more. The double drop to the north. ByuN still finding a lot of success with Marines and medics. 10, 11 more Ultralisk in production. Quantity has a quality of its own. Rumeith leaning heavily into the heaviest units as ByuN guns down dozens of drones yet again. Slowly, though. Ever so slowly. And not entirely surely. Remeith is chewing his way into ByuN's economy. And he may lose a base. He may lose a couple drones here or there. But he still has access to, like, 3/4 of the map. He's dropping creep to deny bases to the north. The double drop still quite a conundrum. ByuN is mining from a fresh base for the first time in a while. We'll see how long he's able to keep it. The double drop will eventually get overrun by the Zerglings. Not picked up in time as he's focusing on defending the southern base at the 6 o'clock. The mass science vessel overhead. And ByuN, he's not too far off the heart of the swarm, and he's got the siege tanks, most of them on the high ground, though quite a precarious angle. The irradiates across the board, an obvious set of D-matrices, but the Ultras across the front line. By the time the irradiate does enough damage, the front line will be cloven in twain, and the Nidus in the main to undercut the production. The Ultras lifts the base, but the SCVs will be abandoned to their fate. The Academy being targeted, the Armory as well. 3-3 on the ground for Rumeith. The Ultras will be taken out before the 60 HP SCVs are. Comsats, supply depots, barracks. The Academy's already gone, which means no more medics or fire bats. Though I think, well, medics is kind of a big deal. Does a radiate still do damage if units are in a Nidus? I have no idea. And now a fungal. The Ultras just cleaving through. Where are the vessels? Again, Rumeith gonna suffer terrible. I don't know. No, maybe we don't heal him, Brenda. I can't help it. It's in my nature. Heals the Ultra that is now irradiating everyone nearby. Well, everyone coded in the irradiate, but the Ultra's cleaving through. The siege tanks moving forward, supply dipping dramatically on both sides. Rumeith is running out of money, but ByuN is literally flat broke. 0 minerals. No income. He is out of minerals. He cannot mine because of the creep from the Nidus to the north. If he had one base of income, that might be enough to actually push through. But he has nothing. The SCVs, I think we're thinking about repairing, but you can't repair if you're completely broke. Rumeith is mining, which puts him infinitely ahead of ByuN. There's some Vipers on the field, and while Parasitic Bomb might not be the be-all, end-all. When you literally cannot afford to repair your units, it should be more than enough. Another set of irradiates. That might be enough to take down the vessel. Another one goes down, and another one bites the dust as the Marines drop out to the north. The SCV's desperately mining. 6 more Ultras on the way. Rumeith almost went too far. He's lost 15,000 more resources, but he has mined 16,000 more minerals and 5,000 more gas. So it's enough. It should be enough. As he wanted the map, he wanted another shot at it, this time with the StarCraft 2 Zerg. And it appears it's paid off for him. More irradiates. Parasitic bomb. Irradiate style attack. The Ultras overhead, the D matrices only buy time, but the Gs buy us game 3. Remeith strikes back as the StarCraft 2 races so far, reigning supreme. We're all tied up. ByuN looking incredibly strong with exactly the same unit composition, or at least the essence of it. But Rumeith embracing that StarCraft 2 style Zerg of just in a very different fashion, much less focused on maintaining a critical mass and more focused on making sure you don't. So, our decider on Sylphin. In the top right with the StarCraft 2 drones, it's Rumeith. And with the StarCraft 1 SCVs, Micro Jackson, it's ByuN. Remember, you can play StarCraft Evo. Just add the extension mod. There's info in the description, right, Jimmy? After you like and subscribe, you can unlock that. Assuming you have basic literacy, but I'm moving on. No ramp, but a small choke point. I believe this is derived from the Brood War map pool as well, like many of our SC Evo maps. You can play it on any map. You can play it on Megaton, Big Game Hunters, fastest map. You can play it, you want to play on Steps of War? I don't know why. Well, are you a proxy rexing Terran? Well, you can. And in fact, with some of the proposed new StarCraft 2 patch changes, playing SC Evo may prepare you better than most things. With the addition of budget Dark Swarm and siege tanks that can no longer be abducted, as well as a longer storm, some things that are somewhat reminiscent of the Brood War. This time around, lo and behold, ByuN with a command center first into 3 racks. I'm gonna assume Marines. All right, that's just a professional analysis, is that ByuN is gonna make a bunch of Marines. I know. Crazy, but I'm gonna make that bold call. A bunker? Now, ByuN, of course, did not scout. Classic. So there could be a bunch of Zerglings or even roaches coming across the map. 3 Marines at a time should be enough to deal with the trickle of Zerglings that Rumeith is sending out. The bunker cannot be salvaged. Another one of the technological achievements of the StarCraft 2 Terran engineers. Though, somewhat ironically, the engineering bay, one of the few things that cannot fly anymore. Aggressive comsat slapdown. Baneling nest already on the way, anticipating. Well, it's ByuN. So. And he already sees the Marines with the Overlord on the little pervert platform here, creeping on everything. It's pretty, and also, you know, he could have just looked and seen. ByuN realizing now that his depots do not lower cancels the one walling off out of reflex. Couple medics on the way, Stim halfway there. And a factory begins. Hurry up, Karen. I'm going as fast as I can. We both know that's a lie. We're identical twins. Yeah, but some of us are more identical than others. I don't even know what that means. Somehow it's still offensive. You've been angry since the war, Brenda. This is true. Sorry, I am knocked out for a moment. Stim is done. Marine range on the way behind. And here comes ByuN. Banelings in production. Just scanning forward. There's comsats again with no other purpose, so using it to great effect. But the banelings are enough to get him to turn around for now. Factory now completing the machine shop. Ah, now that's the brood war we all know. The SCV staring angrily at the Zerg cocoon that's creating a choke point and has given up on everything else. Classic. Couple fire bats added into the mix. Ready to light things up. How many banelings? 7 banes. Still an existential threat, but that's a lot of Marines. And with a couple fire bats mixed in, they don't have a ton of HP. But if left to their devices, well, here we go. Marine stimming back, leaving the medics. Actually stims through, targets the banelings on the right, forces the banelings back on the left, chases down the queens, and ByuN. In classic ByuN fashion, somehow turning that into a very effective trade. Loses 2 firebats and 4 marines for a couple queens, 4 banes, 23 zerglings, and continues to force the lings and banes out. Rumeith just started his lair. Baneling speed is a long way off. And that's a lot of marines and medics that can be coming across the map before it completes. On top of that, ByuN is now working on his starport. He already has siege tanks with siege mode. +1 infantry weapons. Just chilling on the high ground. Scan. Did he scan the main yet? No. But he sees triple Evo chamber. Roach Warren's on the way as well. Science facility has already begun. +1 completed. The triple upgrades for Rumeith and going with Carapace first. I think he knows the Marines are still... Yeah. Alright, well the target fire gets 3-4 banelings and then gets surrounded and slaughtered. Not a great trade for ByuN, but he still makes a little progress out of it. A dropship on the way, and Rumeith is in the most vulnerable position to potentially be dealing with that. The closest air distance, but of course, the medics will have to transport in the dropship as opposed to being the dropship. Destructible rock tower taken down. Does that choke off the whole thing? Or just part? Oh, wait a second. I think it's a little bit of a visual bug. We can't see it. It actually, I thought it would block this ramp. No! The entire ramp here. Wow. Okay, that's quite a choke point that ByuN has set up for himself. Clearly not his first rodeo here. Irradiate halfway there. That dropship. Boosting past. Unspotted. Might be enough time to actually take out the hatch because, well, the Wings and Banes are right there. He's going to get 4 drones. He's going to get a lot of damage on the hatch. The dropship, unfortunately, he can't boost, but still 7 out of 8 units. Dealing with the creep on the left flank as well. Third command center is completed. Now going to be floated over. 4 medics and 3 marines at a time alongside those science vessels. Irradiate already completed. Is there an infestation pit? No. A spire is on the way. A Rumeith not going for a hive. He won't have access to Ultralisks. Instead, leaning on the Roachling Bane with mass upgrades. Which... there's not that many science vessels. A couple more factories are on the way for ByuN. Setting up across the map. Siege tank spread. The Zergling's trying to collapse. +2 Carapace is about to complete, but so is +2 infantry weapons for ByuN. Somewhat canceling it out. Though helps a lot against the siege tanks. Meanwhile, dropping the main. Trying to bring some of the units back. Will succeed in doing so. We'll break a few more off. And the Science are clearly angling for an irradiate here. The anti-air limited to some corrosive bile and a couple queens. The Ravager melting away. Will be abandoned to die in the quarantine zone. Oof. Another Ravager targeted. Without Hydras built into the composition. Oh no, get away! Get away, don't touch me! Oh my, it may take a few Banelings with it. Well, Rumeith is maxed out. He doesn't have Hive, but he does have the +2 Carapace. Some Corruptors on the way. The Science Vessel's without that much energy. Here come the Lings and Banes. Marines and Medics stemming as far up the creep as they can. The Siege Tank spread runs deep. And, ooh, everything coming in through the same angle, and now the drop in the main base. Guns down, a few reinforcing roaches. The drones will be targeted next. A whole bunch of Zerglings coming back. Meanwhile, the army moving forward. ByuN. On the cusp of the 4th base here. Oh, and the Irradiate's wiping out the Banelings before they can get anywhere close. Still, though, Rumeith's supply very high. He has a lot of drones, though. The Medics not able to heal up all these Marines nearly in time. The siege tank count growing dramatically. Still stuck on the high ground. Roaches, Lings, and Banes coming around from every corner. Takes out several siege tanks. No more Irradiates left over. Siege tanks still running all the way back towards the 3rd, but not able to siege up in time. The Ravager's on top of it. Corrosive Bile lands, takes out 2, but some of the Marines survive, and they're stemming forward. The Ravagers are driven back, and ByuN is tearing through. He managed to survive the onslaught with a critical mass of Marines, and Rumeith ran out of units too early. ByuN still down in supply. A Hive tech is done. Well, the Hive is done, but no tech from it, as he's desperate to put enough units on the field. Another set of corrosive bow. The Marines holding their ground. The siege tank still slamming the point home. The Queens. More drones dead. ByuN starting to just chew his way into the Zerg. The Brood War Terran is still very capable of finding that effectiveness. And there just wasn't enough space to get away. Remeith is down 30 supply. The Ultralisk Cavern. No, it's not gonna happen. He's completely tearing him apart. The Queens will be hunted down. The Overlord is driven away. ByuN with a 4th base in production. His economy pretty much untouched at home, not losing a single building. He's been, again, over twice as cost-effective. The Marines standing their ground and easily gunning down the roaches. The Queens nothing behind them. And ByuN will achieve victory. Somewhat amusingly with the StarCraft 1 Terrans, whereas the StarCraft 2 could not. Or wait, could. That's backwards. He won with both. Either way, ByuN takes the series 2-1. Hopefully you enjoyed as much as I did. If you're liking SC Evo, make sure to check out SCEvo.net, or even better, you can play it against the AI in-game, which is actually coded to play against it. If you want to check it out with maybe a little less pressure. But thank you for watching. If you got the means of motivation, it'd be awesome to check out Patreon or YouTube membership. But I hear liking and subscribing. It's still free, at least for now. So I'll see you next time. Thank you to our mule tier patrons bringing in those extra minerals. Big Jiggy Devendor, Mario, Kate, and Soup. I just still enjoy. And thank you to everyone for watching. Good luck, have fun. Stay chill.